Welcome back to the False Prophet channel where we get Islam exposed and the Prophet of Islam exposed on the regular basis. I am your host, Brother Jacob, and tonight we have a very special episode. We will be exposing the Kenny Bomer channel by the name of Consider This TV, the channel that you see in front of you. I just want to warn people, if you ever think about going on this panel, this right here is a warning. This panel is rigged. And this is my second time debating with them when I went up there tonight. And let me tell you, this channel is totally rigged. Once Kenny realizes that you have a good point, he's going to immediately mute you. He has a co-host by the name of Mustafa. He has this irritating accent. I think he's from the UK or Pakistan, but he seems like one of those, irrational type of Islamic people who don't see anything that their prophet could do wrong. And you can show people like him an obvious mistake or contradiction, and he'll just come up with, he says nothing with any substance to it. And you're going to see all of this when I present you the evidence. The reason why I went on their show is because a guy who is affiliated with them by the name of Kareem, he hit me up on my channel in the comment section. He was inviting me to the show, and I told him, I said, Kareem, in so many words, I said, I don't want to go back to that show because it's rigged. I already know that Kenny is going to, I told him, I already know Kenny is going to mute me. He's not going to let me get my points out. As soon as he sees that I have him cornered, I already know how it goes down. And lo and behold, it went down just like I expected it to go down. But it's all good because these type of people, and when they do these type of things, it serves as an example. You see? And the reason why I'm making this video, because I don't want this moment of history to be in vain. You see, out of everything, the Bible says that all things work together for the good and for the edification of the saints. Okay. So this type of incident, I can shed light on it. And this can be an expose of how these type of individuals act when they are cornered. They will do devious things. They'll cut into your words. They'll mute you. It'll be 5-on-1. I even challenged Mustafa to a debate. He declined. He made an ad hominem, said I was below his level and this and that. But it's all good. So we're going to start the video from the point when I come into the debate. And the discussion topic, they was speaking about the preservation of the Bible. So I wanted to come into the debate on topic. I don't like coming into things from out of nowhere and start, bringing up things that people wasn't even speaking about. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
The open discussion. But like I said, I'm interested and I'm up to watch that debate if you guys want to, figure out the details of that.
Okay, let's let Jacob Devin. He's had his hand up for a while. Let him get in.
This is me about to speak
and see what he's got to say. Go ahead, Devin. You may have to unmute your. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking from my mind. I told myself I'm not going to do that. I want to be.
Well, you don't do that too much anymore.
Okay, see.
You see, I was already cut off from the beginning, but let's continue.
I'm already interrupted.
Just kidding. I'm so sorry. You left yourself open for that. Sorry about that.
Get control of your panel, please. I'm being generous, and so
Devin,
I don't.
You hear me telling him to get control of his panel. Okay, so.
He was just joking with you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
okay.
Right
Well. Okay. Can I? I don't want to be up here doing.
He said he was just joking with me, but it wasn't a joke. They do this all the time. And I don't know if I'm going to play this whole interview out, but it wasn't just joking. They did this the last time I came in. they already give me a limited amount of time. They don't even give me time to express myself. So he's talking about he's joking, but that's cutting into my time. I didn't do him like that. So this guy doesn't even know me. So why would he be joking with me? And this shows you that Muslims don't take their God serious, because when I'm speaking about religious matters, I take it serious. The Bible says it's a time and season for everything, and this was not the time for foolish gesturing and joking. But let's continue.
Talking and not quoting anything. So when I came into the show, the topic was about the preservation of the Bible. So I guess I want to stay within the topic. I don't want to be all over the place. So I want to read something from the Hadith, and I want to read a verse from the Quran. But first, allow me to read the Hadith, and this is narrated by Aisha. The Prophet heard a man reciting the Quran in the mosque and said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he
reminded me something that
You see, I was quoting the Hadith that I have on my channel about when Muhammad was in the mosque and he forgot a certain surah, and then there was a man in the mosque who reminded Muhammad of the surah. Okay, I was going into that Hadith, and as you see, the man named Mustafa, I call him Mustafa the blasphemer because he blasphemed the Holy Spirit on the other debate that I had with him. So he's the one who cut into what I was saying, and also he is the co-host of the Kenny platform. So it's rigged. They don't have no type of order, no type of self-control, but these are the people who are representing Islam. But let's continue.
I forgot. I know the hadith. We know the hadith. So don't have to elaborate. So how can the Prophet forget if he was reminded? Is that your case? Is that your argument? That we make you remember the Quran, we make you memorize it? How did you forget? Yes, we know about the hadith.
And already you see Mustafa, and another thing they was doing the entire time I was on this show, they wasn't allowing me to speak. Basically, they was trying to use me as a prop or a guinea pig. You see, he was putting words in my mouth, speaking for me about what the point is I'm trying to make. My point was not what he said. He was trying to create a point for me because he saw that he was about to be in for a disaster. So the entire time they had to be circus clowns to divert the attention away from what I was saying and turn it into a circus of people blurting out, because this is what Muslims do. They do not want to be exposed. Okay? And he knew that if he allowed me to speak, that I would totally annihilate the panel. But they was not about to have that because, like I said, the show is rigged. The least thing Kenny could have done, he could have muted everybody, allowed me to speak at least 3 minutes without interrupting me. But no, it was no order whatsoever. Let's continue.
And we're really sure what the hadith says. So you don't have to elaborate. You're making it sound like you've brought us something new. So the man in the masjid, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, was reminded of ayat that he couldn't remember. And he said, may Allah bless him. Now remember, not how this hadith goes, subhanAllah. That this is the beauty. Brother Kenny, when you're in the masjid and when an imam forgets something, does not the person behind them remind?
Absolutely.
Yeah? So what does that show you? That means the preservation itself is still continuing. That nothing is forgotten. Bear in mind, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, during his final year,
I wish I could fast forward past his part because his voice is very annoying and he is just diverting from the point. But when I get back in, when they allow me to speak again, you'll hear what I'm going to say. So basically, he's trying to overspeak me, overtalk me, and, trying to inundate me with a bunch of things at once. So I will lose my train of thought that I'm on. So this is the tactic that they are using. But let's continue.
Recited the Quran twice to Gabriel, peace be upon him, from start to end. So nothing was forgotten. So in this sense, by coming back to one verse and saying, Allah reward you for reminding me, Allah says in the Quran, we can make you forget as well. So that's no problem. So here, I don't see what the argument is, but it's just a lame one. So that's why I had to just stop him.
He said he don't see what the argument is, but it's a lame one. How can you see what somebody's argument is, and you haven't even allowed them to say what they are going to say, and then you go ahead and say it's a lame one, and you haven't even heard what the person was going to say, and then the host goes along with it. You see what I'm saying? Because it's the co-host who muted me out. The host of the channel, Kenny Bomer, whatever his name is, he didn't correct the co-host. So this channel has no order whatsoever. And they would never step into a orderly debate with me because they already know what will happen. See, people like this, you will have to debate them on a neutral platform, because when they are running the show, they don't allow you to speak, because these Muslims are afraid of anything that will make their prophet look stupid.
But Brother Anwar, please, can elaborate more. Please,
Well, let the brother also speak, because we don't want to run him away, because without our guests,
Okay,
we're only preaching.
Now, the one who was saying, let the brother speak, we don't want to run him away, that's Kareem. His channel name is Kareem the Tutor. He's the one who left the comment underneath one of my videos telling me to come aboard the show today, and that he was basically telling me everything was going to be all right, but it turned out to be a disaster. So he was acting like he was nice, but he turned against me, and it doesn't surprise me, because one thing, like right now, like I told you, I'm using this as an example. Muslims are told not to take Jews and Christians as friends. They can treat you any kind of way. There is a hadith that says, where Muhammad says, you do not be first to greet Christians and Jews, and when you see them in the street, to push them to the narrowest part of the road. So everything that they doing, it didn't surprise me. But I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. How seeing that they divert from, certain Quran passages, and they will say it means this when it's beneficial to their argument, and when it doesn't support their argument, they'll throw it under the bus. But let's continue.
To the choir. Let him elaborate.
All right. As you see, Mustafa, he butted in because he's afraid of what I'm about to do, and he's trying to be the cleanup person, because I already know. I spoke to Kareem earlier, and I told him that this was going to take place, that they was going to mute me. Michael was not muted when he was speaking, but for some reason, he's afraid of what I'm about to say. So please allow me to read the hadith. I don't need you to read it for me, and I want to read the Quranic verse after I read the hadith. That's all I'm asking. And I ask that you please do not mute me. And then if you want to say something when I'm finished, then go ahead. But let's have order. The Bible say do everything decently and in order. Okay? So let me read the hadith. The prophet heard a man reciting the Quran in the mosque and said, may Allah bestow his mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses of such a surah. Now notice it says that he has reminded me, the man in the mosque. Now, let's turn to, let me pull up Surah 2106. Give me 1 second. Surah 2106. And we're gonna read Surah 2106, and I'm reading the Sahih International. We do not abrogate a verse or cause it to be forgotten, except that we bring forth one better than it or similar to it. Do you not know that Allah is over all things competent? Now,
so basically what I did, I was setting up my argument, okay? I've read to them Surah 2106. I have a video entitled Surah 2106 proves that that Muhammad is not the final messenger, okay? And what I read to them was Surah 2106, and it says, we do not abrogate or cause a verse to be forgotten unless we replace it with a better verse or a similar verse. Okay? So basically, in conjunction with the hadith that speaks about Muhammad being in the mosque and forgetting the surah, it shows that Muhammad proved Muhammad to be a lie, because in the hadith, the man in the mosque reminded Muhammad of what he forgot. Okay? But that's not what the verse says. And we're going to break all of this down when we get through this. That's not what the verse says. Okay? The verse says that Allah would remind Muhammad. And not only that, the verse says that they would bring back, it says we, and the Muslims say that this is the majestic plural. The verse says, Surah 2106, that we would bring something better or similar. Okay? But if Muhammad was reminded of the same verse, because the word reminded means, like the word reattach, basically to re-stitch something back in place. But it's the same thing. If he was reminded, he was given the same thing that he forgot. But that's not what the Quran says. The Quran says that Allah would bring back something similar or better. And not only that, it says that Allah would do it, not no man sitting up in the mosque. Okay? So it proves that the Quran is a lie, and it proves that the man in the mosque would be the final messenger. Okay? Because he is the one who gave the message back to Muhammad. So the Muslims are in a dilemma, because Surah 2106 says that Allah will bring something similar or better. Okay? So the man in a mosque, in order for the Quran to be correct, he would have to have brought something better or similar to the memory of Muhammad. Not the same. But the hadith says that he reminded Muhammad of the same thing. So we see two problems in that hadith, because it's inconsistent with the verse Surah 2106. It's inconsistent because Allah didn't remind Muhammad, and the man is the one who reminded Muhammad, and the man didn't bring back something similar or better to the memory of Muhammad. He brought back the same thing. So it proves both that the Quran is a lie and that Muhammad himself is a lie. So let's continue the video.
When you compare this verse to the hadith, there is a problem. Because number one, Allah said that he would be the one to remind Muhammad. And not only did he say that he is the one who causes him to forget, but he says that he would bring him something better or similar. He didn't say he would bring him the same exact verse. So in the hadith, you see Muhammad saying, may Allah bestow blessings upon the man, because he reminded him. When you say you remind somebody, that means you gave them the same verse that they forgot. But as you
Exactly. That means you gave them the same thing that they forgot when you remind somebody. Let's continue.
see in Surah 2106, Allah says that he will bring something better or something similar. You can't.
Which he didn't. Allah didn't bring something better or similar. He brought the same. He didn't bring anything. The man is the one who reminded Muhammad. Let's continue.
Be reminded with something that's different, because it says it's better or similar. And not only that, Muhammad.
Right, have you finished? Because if you finished, we heard you say it. Have you finished? Because if you have, let's.
You see how he cut into what I was saying? I didn't finish. He cut into what I was saying. You see? And you see the host of the show? The co-host is the one who just cut into my words. His name is Mustafa. And Kenny saying nothing. He just sitting there like a silly duck on the roll. He ain't saying a thing. But let's continue.
So I think even Anwar wants to answer that, and then I'll go on it. So if you finish, then that's fine. I think it's finished.
And also, Brother Kenny, if you can time us, because that way no one has to be muted, and at the same time he can have an appropriate amount.
Go on, Brother Anwar. You carry on, and then I'll go next, and then Kareem can finish him off. And what?
I think he's in the room, but may have stepped away from the dialogue for a minute. Unless he's there and he.
He's still there.
Well, let me. Could I? Or you wanna?
No, you go first, then I'll say. You go, brother.
Okay, if Brother Kenny would allow me and him to have a small back and forth, only not for him to explain, but I just need certain key questions. So I don't need a long answer. If you can unmute him for just a second. And okay, so Brother Jacob, the beginning. Let's go to the hadith, right? The hadith in and of itself. What do you get from that? Without just from the story.
I'm gonna read it again because I don't want to be
No. We heard it, but what do you get from it?
From what I get from it,
yeah.
I'm gonna read it because I don't want to be up here saying stuff from off of my mind like I've been hearing a lot of people doing, because that's just a bunch of.
But reading it doesn't tell me what's in your mind about it. I can
tell you what's in my mind. You gonna tell me? Are you gonna listen to me? Or are you gonna keep over talking me, man? Which one is it gonna be?
Wait a minute.
Just let me speak.
Wait a minute. Now you're being simply unreasonable because
now he's cutting me, telling me that I'm being unreasonable, okay? Because the hadith, what I was trying to do is read the hadith. He's asking me, what do I get from it? I get exactly what it says. It's nothing ambiguous about the hadith. The hadith is clear as day. So let's continue.
He's trying to get clarity about what it is that you're reading. What do you think is being stated in what you're reading? Okay.
You see the ridiculousness of that question? What do I think is being stated when I'm reading something clear as day? That's like somebody telling me, I read a sentence out of a book saying, today is Monday and it was 76 degrees. And then they ask me, what do I get out of that? I get exactly what it said, that today is Monday and it's 76 degrees on today, which is Monday. The hadith was very blatantly clear.
Plain and simple. What is it that you think is what conclusion are you drawing from that hadith?
The conclusion that I'm drawing, Kenny, is exactly what it says. The prophet heard a man reciting the Quran in the mosque. He said, may Allah bestow his mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verses in such and such surah. So the hadith contradicts the Quran.
Okay.
106.
Gotcha.
That's
All right. All right, perfect. This is a clear. Okay, all right. Let me address that. Now, this is based on a false presumption.
Okay. Now, having heard it again, maybe he was trying to see what was my point, but I had already established my point, okay? So to be fair, and to give him the benefit of the doubt, I had already established my point. But this is where the disorderly behavior causes him not to hear what I'm saying, okay? Because had not Mustafa been blurting in to my points that were being raised, maybe Kareem would have heard what I was saying. If Kenny would have conducted the show in a professional manner, then Kareem would have heard what I was saying, okay? Everybody now who's listening, I'm pretty sure you can hear and understand exactly the point that I was making, okay?
Falsely presuming that the technical word he used when he said reminded me, especially now that it's brought into English, you have to definitely look at the Arabic text. But the word reminded me, you're automatically applying that to a scenario that we have no proof that it actually applies to it. For example,
did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what that Kareem fool just said? He said that I was making a false assumption by saying that Muhammad was reminded because it came out of the Arabic into English, but the whole context of the hadith shows clearly that he forgot, and the word reminded is not a false assumption. But that's why I'm so glad that I'm recording this right now. Like I said, Everything working together for the good. This video is a prime example to teach you and to show you what to expect when you are dealing with Muslims. He did the classic thing that Muslims do, and it's to play the Arabic card. I guarantee you, I can bet you, this Kareem dude, he don't even speak Arabic himself. I can tell by his voice. He don't have the accent. If I had to bet, I can promise you that this guy does not know Arabic. He is not no native Arabic speaker, but yet he is going to pull the Arabic card as if I was making a false assumption. Like, we can't see through that. Come on. Let's continue.
If he was saying, and he meant by what he was saying that, mashallah, this brother, because of course the Prophet Muhammad is not reflecting on every single ayah at every single moment in his life. So he has memorized the whole Quran, which is a long book, and it may have been that he had heard a verse, of course, that he knows, but the man brought it to his forefront. Just like,
you hear what he's trying to say? He's trying to make an excuse for why Muhammad forgot the verse. He said, paraphrasing, Muhammad could have heard a lot of verses his whole entire life, so maybe he forgot the verse, and the man behind him is just bringing it back to his memory, as if Surah 2106 made some type of exception when it said that if you forget a verse, it was Allah who caused you to forget the verse. It's not because he heard a lot of verses throughout his entire lifetime, like this Kareem guy is saying. That's not why he forgot the verse. Surah 2106 tells you why he forgot the verse. He forgot the verse because Allah caused him to forget the verse. And Surah 2106 was given to Muhammad. So it's Allah telling Muhammad, supposedly, it's Allah telling him these things, that if you forget a verse, we gonna bring it back to your memory. He didn't say some man in a mosque will bring it back to your memory. He said, we will bring it back to your memory. And what Kareem is doing, he was trying to make an excuse and bringing in all of these assumptions. But there's a hadith, and I'm gonna show you all that hadith when we continue, and I'll tell you why he is wrong for doing that. Okay, because he's not supposed to do that according to the hadith, and I will bring that up when we get to the end of this. But let's continue.
when like there's a verse in the Quran that Muslims quote a lot because it's an important verse, which is فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So remind, because the reminder benefits the believer. Now I know that verse, I just said it. Now if Brother Kenny mentions that verse after a long period of time where no one has brought the verse up or it hasn't been discussed, I can say, mashallah, Kenny, thank you so much. May God bless you. You reminded me of that verse.
Now you see what he's doing? He's talking about being reminded the verse. Kenny is a fellow Muslim reminding him the verse, but he is not the prophet of Islam. The verse Surah 2106 was not given to him. Okay? It was given to Muhammad based upon what Muhammad says, because I don't believe any of it. But according to what Muhammad said, if he forgot a verse because Allah caused him to forget a verse, that Allah would replace it with something better or similar. Okay? So this guy, Kareem, is trying to use an example of himself like Allah told him the verse Surah 2106. No Gabriel or no messenger or anything gave the verse to Kareem. So he's trying to use himself as a example of forgetting a verse and trying to apply a situation when he forgets a verse to Muhammad and saying, if Brother Kenny reminded me, then that's the same thing. No, it's not, because Muhammad is the one who received Surah 2106, and Muhammad is the one who was promised that if he forgot a verse, that Allah would bring something similar or better back to his memory. Let's continue.
That doesn't mean that the verse was, that doesn't. How are you taking that and stretching
Kareem, brother,
it to a scenario that is not even there?
Kareem, you're right. Sorry to interject. Carry on, brother. I just want to carry on one thing. He read one hadith. This is same from Bukhari. Listen to this, guys. Narrated Aisha, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard a man reciting the Quran at night and said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, as he has reminded me of such and such verse of such and such surah, which I was caused to forget." Did he not read from the Quran? Some surahs we can make you cause to forget.
Mustafa, you there?
Now you see this Mustafa fool not listening to anything that I'm saying. He's reading another hadith that shows Muhammad forgetting the verse again. And I didn't even bring that hadith up. I didn't ask for him to bring that hadith up. So he got his own self busted, thinking that he was showing me something about Allah is the one who causes Muhammad to forget. I had already established that. So Mustafa coming in behind me saying that didn't add anything to what I was saying. It was actually helping me out because he's just confirming what I said, that Allah calls him to forget the verse, and he's just showing you another incident when Muhammad forgot a verse and was reminded by somebody else for a second time. But let's continue.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We lost you for a second, or I did.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, brother.
Okay, let me just finish this hadith, brothers. Yeah, this is narrated by Aisha. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard a man reciting the Quran at night and said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him, and he has reminded me of such and such verse, such and such surah, which I was caused to forget." And I quote, "which I was caused to forget." Did he not say?
So you see how Mustafa is unconsciously helping me out, because he is showing you how a second incident occurred when Surah 2106 is proven to be a lie. Okay? Because listen to what Mustafa said. In a hadith that he quoted, he quotes Muhammad quoting part of Surah 2106 saying that, "May Allah bestow the blessings on a man who reminded me of such and such verse that Allah caused me to forget." And I want y'all to remember that. He is holding Muhammad, he's holding Muhammad responsible for quoting part of Surah 2106, remembering that Allah calls him to forget. But for the other part of the surah, it falls short, because the second part of the surah about Allah supposed to bring something better or similar, it didn't come to pass. So he showed his own self. He got himself busted. He showed that Muhammad said Allah calls him to forget it, like Surah 2106 says, but what about the other part of Surah 2106 that Allah is supposed to be the one to bring it back to his memory, not some other man that's listening to him? But let's continue. So Mustafa, thanks for helping me out, dummy.
From the Quran, which we know that Allah can make you cause to forget. So here we can read that there's more elaboration on this hadith as well, that this surah was caused to forget. And then what Rasulullah...
Thank you. That's what I said. Thank you. I already said that. You're not telling me nothing that we didn't know, Mustafa. You exactly right. You are elaborating more, helping my point, not even knowing it.
Rasulullah heard it. He was reminded of it. And again, we can go back to the last part when I said Rasulullah at the end of his time, he recited the Quran twice to Gabriel, peace be upon him, the last year of his time during Ramadan. Twice. Not once, twice. What does that tell you?
And let me...
Him saying that Muhammad recited the Quran twice to Gabriel, that means absolutely nothing to the point that I'm raising. You see, you gotta peep game when you see it. These Muslims will bring up hadiths and verses out of context that has nothing to do relating to the point that you are making. The point is that if Muhammad forgot a verse, Surah 2106 says that it will be replaced with something better or similar. But that is not the case, and that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Because Muhammad said he was reminded. And when somebody reminds you of something, do I need to say it and keep having to repeat it? When somebody remind you of something, that means they are bringing you the same thing back to your memory, not something similar or something better. So let's continue.
Add something that just came to my mind. Sorry for taking so long. This is 10 seconds here. Just something interesting to think of. When we look at the whole narrative of the Quran and how this heavy and weighty revelation descended upon this man, we have stories that say, for example, the Prophet said that such and such chapter of the Quran has made him gray-haired, has caused some grayness in his hair to appear.
What does Muhammad saying such and such surah in the Quran has made gray hairs appear? What does that have to do with me saying that the hadith that I mentioned is inconsistent with Surah 2106? And as you notice in this debate, they keep going back and forth. Mustafa went, then Kareem went. I was muted, and I still haven't had a chance to speak for myself. So like I said, this panel is totally disorderly.
Meaning the discussion is so weighty upon his heart that it affected his body. And I believe this was Surah Hud, which discusses the prophets of old. But what I'm saying is that it may be that what is meant here by Allah caused him to forget it is that a mercy from him, the prophet.
Now he's saying it may be. So already he is bringing an assumption, okay? As a matter of fact, let me show y'all something. He said maybe, so he's already bringing an assumption into the format. And let's read a hadith. Let's read this hadith. All right, read this. Let's read. Ibn Abbas said, none of you should say about a thing which he does not know. Allah knows it. When Allah may know that it is other than what he said, and thus he tries to teach Allah what he does not know. That is something terrible in Allah's sight. So as soon as Kareem said maybe, that means he didn't know. He was making an assumption. I wasn't making no assumptions this entire night. Okay? So Kareem did something terrible in Allah's sight. Let's read that hadith again. Ibn Abbas said, and it's Sahih. So they can't say it's weak, it's rejected. You know how they like to do. Let's read it again. Ibn Abbas said, none of you should say about a thing which he does not know. Allah knows it. When Allah may know that it is other than what he said, and thus he tries to teach Allah what he does not know. That is something terrible in Allah's sight. So basically, Kareem was just now trying to teach Allah something that Allah doesn't know. You see? So, Kareem, you just did something terrible in Allah's sight. So let's get back to it.
From the Quran, which we know, God's Mashiach.
Yeah, it's more in
Well, he said there are many, but get the book and read it for yourself. I
Are you
haven't
talking
read
about the Torah in general? Or?
the this Prophet was reminded by a companion. So
Right.
he was blessed as well. Imagine how blessed this companion radiallahu anhu was, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam blessed him.
I kind of left the screen, so it went to the end of the live chat. So we just picking up from wherever. Hopefully, we'll get back to the same part that we left. So anyway, let's just continue.
We still see the same scenario occurring all of the time. I don't know about you brothers, but alhamdulillah, I've been in the masjid numerous times, and I've heard verses recited that I haven't heard in a while. And
Yes.
just the reminder of it is it makes me happy. Alhamdulillah, I like hearing the.
Alhamdulillah, you are not Muhammad. Surah 2106 wasn't given to you, Kenny. So if you forget a verse and somebody remind you, it make you feel pleasant, that has nothing to do with what Muhammad was told. Muhammad is the one who the message was delivered to in Surah 2106. He was told what would happen if he forgot a verse. He was told that he would be given something better or similar. The verse, Surah 2106, it wasn't given to you, it wasn't given to Kareem, and it wasn't given to Mustafa.
The recitation, and
even I forgot, brother Kenny. Few months ago, there was a surah that I would recite constantly, but I didn't recite it. Rather, I was reciting other surahs, and it went out of my mind, and I'm trying to figure it. Subhanallah, thinking which surah is it? Which surah is it? Which surah is it? And then I heard it, and it came in my mind. I'm like, Allahu Akbar. But I didn't forget the whole surah. I only forgot the surah itself in a whole because it didn't come in my mind. But when I heard it,
that happened the last show with me. That happened the last show with me when I was asking, I believe, Brother Kareem, if I remember.
Now notice Mustafa said it happened to him. He forgot a surah, and then it came back to his mind, and he said, Allahu Akbar. But guess what he didn't say? He didn't say a better surah or something similar came back to his mind. He said the same surah. And you know why he said that? Because the promise of Surah 2106 wasn't given to him. It was given to Muhammad. So everything they are saying, it has nothing to do with the point I'm making. Surah 2106 wasn't given to Mustafa.
Correctly, asking him, brother, what surah is that? Because I couldn't draw it to my mind at the time. And Danny Davis was in the chat on YouTube mocking me about it. But alhamdulillah, we're human beings, like Brother Faisal said.
Shout out to Danny Daniels too. He's another one of the brothers who come on the panel who, like me, they always mute because they're afraid of the knowledge that we give. But shout out to Daniel, and let's continue.
And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of your responses to this issue, because each and every one of these things apply. And so I'm going to go back to before we go to Brother Ibn Anwar, I want to go back to Devin and let him respond, since he thinks this platform is rigged.
Now this is me coming in, Brother Jacob. On my Samsung, when I first came into their debate show, I had Devin on my screen name. So sometimes he'll say Devin, but then other times he'll say Brother Jacob. So that's me when he says that.
But obviously, this is we understand what your contention was, and your contention on every level has been dealt with. So I'm hoping that
my contention on every level has been dealt with. Did y'all hear that?
Take you off mute, you don't come back and try to respond and just keep going around in circles about the same issue over and over and over again. Ponder, think, reflect on what's been stated, and try to learn something. I'm saying that respectfully. Simply try to learn something while you have the opportunity. Alhamdulillah. So go ahead.
Okay, Kenny. I see what's going on, and my point is not that Muhammad.
Hold on. Let me stop you there just briefly, because I want you to define.
Already muted. Y'all see this? Already muted. Now, tell me this wouldn't be frustrating for anybody. I eventually just left the show. I just sent a message through the chat. I said, I'm gone. I'm done with this. Bye. I'm leaving. I told him that because I realized that it was going to be going on the whole night. And, I got enough footage, good enough for me to do what I'm doing right now. So it is what it is.
What it is that's going on. You presented a hadith that you don't understand the context of what's being stated there, and 3 or 4 brothers have responded.
Now, how couldn't I understand the context of what was stated in a hadith as simple as that? But I digress. Let's continue.
To you with good and thorough and reasonable explanations. So what is it that you think is going on besides us having a discussion and addressing the issue that you brought up? What is it?
All right. First of all, Kenny, my point, I didn't even get a chance to get my point out. As you see, Mustafa cut into my comments, and then I didn't finish my point because everybody kept blurting in, and I kept getting muted. So my point was not even continued, which I want to do right now. Okay, my point was not so much about Muhammad forgetting the surah. because I even brought that up myself. That's why I read Surah 2106. So I don't know what Mustafa is talking about. It's not about the fact that he forgot. I'm talking about what Surah 2106 actually says. It says that Allah causes Muhammad to forget. And if he does forget, that Allah would remind him and he would bring something better or similar. Okay? So, but in a hadith, it says that the man reminded him. So when you remind him.
So Allah reminded him through the man. Subhanallah. That's it.
Yeah, very simply.
Now, notice what Mustafa said, and I'm going to get him busting on this by the end of the show. He said, Allah reminded Muhammad through the man. As soon as Mustafa said that, he has condemned Allah as being a liar. Because Surah 2106 says that that Allah will remind him. He didn't say a man. And when you read the Quran, who is the messenger that is sent to Muhammad? It's Gabriel. Okay? So we're going to hold Mustafa to those words. We're going to show you, when we get to the end of this, we're going to show you the tafsir for Surah 2106. And we're going to show you that Mustafa, unknowingly again, has just condemned his God to be a liar. Okay? Let's continue.
Yes. Allah's not going to come.
So I want y'all to remember that. Mustafa said that Allah used the man to remind Muhammad. Now, what do Muslims say? They say that Muhammad is the what? The final messenger. Okay? So, if this man is used by Allah, like Muhammad is used by Allah to bring a message, what does that tell you? That tells you that this man is a messenger of who? Of Allah. When did this doctrine come? This is the first time that we have heard Allah using another man to bring a message to his prophet. Okay? This is new. So Mustafa has just introduced a new doctrine and he has condemned Allah for being a liar. Okay? Because whenever Muhammad received a message, he got it from who? He got it from who? Gabriel. That's who he got it from. Gabriel in Islam, Jibril is the messenger angel who comes to Muhammad. But notice Mustafa just said that Allah used the man in the mosque to bring the message. Okay? So we're going to hold Mustafa to that. That Allah used the man as the messenger to bring the Quran verse back to the memory of Muhammad. So Mustafa has just got himself in trouble, and Mustafa got himself in trouble because by saying that, he is agreeing that Allah did not bring a better verse through the man or a similar verse through the man that he says Allah used to be a messenger. So unknowingly, Mustafa has admitted that Surah 2106 is not true because Allah did not send a better verse or a similar verse through the man that Mustafa just said Allah was using as a messenger. Busted. Let's continue.
Down himself, brother.
I'm gonna jet in a bit. But I just want to make it clear. So Jesus said that that the Messiah would be God will reveal the Messiah to the people, and then Andrew was the one who revealed it to his brother that the Messiah has been found. So should we conclude that Andrew was the God, Yahweh himself? No. We understand that God would have been giving the message and reminding somebody through another way. That's the way it works. If you don't understand the basics of those.
You see how dumb that was? The Messiah was prophesied to come in the Old Testament. What is this guy talking about? But see, this is what Muslims do. He's trying to create basically, like the Bible says, you got a beam in your eye. So how can you tell me I got a beam in my eye? But what he brought up is not showing me being a hypocrite, because what he said didn't make no sense. The Messiah was prophesied to come in the Old Testament. So nobody revealed the coming of the Messiah. Jesus is the Messiah. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the one who let them know. So let's continue.
Thing, Jacob, then you obviously got some issues here.
First of all, this is what I want to say. This is my point that I'm getting at. If I keep getting,
can I get a word in? Can I get a word in? Just very quickly.
Let's let Devin complete his point. Just respectfully, Brother Ibn Anwar.
Sorry.
No one put him on mute. No one put him on mute. Let him complete his thought, and then we'll respond to it. Go ahead. Just don't make
this is my point. This is my point. Now, when you read Surah 2:106, it says Allah would bring something better or similar. It didn't say that he would bring the same verse. So that means the man who reminded Muhammad is actually...
Okay, I want to stop you there. One can forget.
See how you stopped me? You see how you stopped me? The guy with the funny UK accent, sound like a Pakistani or UK. He is the one that's doing the most blurting in. He's the co-host. He just stopped me when I was about to finish my point because he sees the disaster. The disaster has already came, as you can tell in this video. But Mustafa, we should call him Mustafa because that's what he's doing. He keeps muting and stopping. You get it? Mustafa, mute, stop. That's what he keeps doing. He keeps muting and stopping me in the middle of my sentences because he is trying to save the Muslim panel from more injury.
One can forget. There's no harm in forgetting.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm in the middle of workshop.
He said one can forget. There's no harm in forgetting. You heard what he said? But who said that there was harm in forgetting? That has nothing to do with the point I was raising. Okay?
I can't really participate that much. So just in response to the issue that has been brought forward here, with regards to the hadith of the verse in question,
Hold on 1 second.
he's trying to have us discuss the concept of nasakh wa mansukh.
Hold on 1 second. We gotta have some order, okay? So alhamdulillah. So all I'm trying to do, I want this to be as fair as possible, inshallah. I don't want anyone getting offended. I'm not trying to cause anyone any aggravation or anything like that, but I want to be able to give everyone an equal amount of time to speak. I just said, let's not mute Jacob. Let's let him complete his thought, and then we'll respond to him. So let's do that, and just respectfully, let's.
Yeah, 30 seconds if he can wrap it up.
All right, go ahead.
So a guy who isn't the host implants a subliminal in the head of Kenny. This is how they work. They feed off of each other. Kareem says he has 30 seconds. He's not even the host of the channel.
This is what I was about to say. Surah 2:106 says that Allah will bring something better or similar. So that means the man who reminded Allah is actually the final messenger of Islam because he brought a similar or better verse, not the same verse. So he was actually the one acting like.
So the man said the hadith says he reminded me of the surah. He reminded me of the surah.
You see how he muted me?
Mr. Kenny, he's twisting the verse. So I'm not going to let him twist the verse like that, brother Kenny. I'm really sorry.
I would agree that.
You see what the other Muslim did? You see what he did? Mr. Kenny, he's twisting the verse. I'm not going to allow him to twist the verse like that. They are liars. What he was practicing in that moment, for those of you who don't know, it's a doctrine in Islam called taqiyya. And what taqiyya means, see, in Islam, they believe that in war, all is fair. And they believe that war is deception. And they believe that even when you are conversing back and forth with non-Muslims, that they are participating in a form of jihad. Okay? So that's why he is able to lie. Muslims can lie to non-Muslims. Okay? In their hadith, they are even given 3 different scenarios when they can tell lies. They can tell lies to their wife. They can tell lies to keep peace between their friends, and they can tell lies. They can actually deny that they are a Muslim in certain situations. So their own religion permits them to lie, and even in the Quran, it says that they can swear an oath and they can still lie as long as they didn't mean the words of the oath that came out of their mouth, because it says Allah knows the intent of their heart. So these Muslims they have the green light to tell lies. Just like Mustafa stopped me in the middle of my sentence and said I was twisting words when I wasn't twisting anything. But let's just continue.
The hadith says he reminded me of the verse, not that he brought me something new. He's trying to say to me that there's an
You see what he said? Mustafa is proving my point. He said that the hadith says that he reminded him. That's the whole point, idiot. The whole point is he reminded him, but he didn't bring something better or similar like the Quran said in Surah 2:106. Busted. Surah 2:106 says that Allah will bring something better or similar. Busted. He's busting his own self, and they sitting them there laughing like they doing something. They not doing anything but making it worse for themselves. Man.
new messenger now. He's saying that Allah bless him, he reminded me of the surah that I was made to forget. He reminded me, not that he
abrogated
something new to me. This is a joke. This guy is making a joke.
It's a joke. It's a joke because it's the truth, and the truth hurts. It's not a joke. The verse 2:106 says that Allah don't abrogate or cause a verse to be forgotten unless he brings something better or similar. So it's not a joke, Mustafa. You are the joke.
Yeah, let me try to clarify for Brother Jacob, and I agree so much, Brother Mustafa, that it's hard to not mute, just not to disrespect, but to clarify the statement as he says it before he builds and compounds his argument upon ignorance.
Before you go into it,
yes.
Hey, look, y'all don't get mad at me on either side. Alhamdulillah, I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I don't want nobody to get mad at, don't blame me. Alhamdulillah, matter of fact, I don't think I put him on mute. I think I put him on mute 2 times, but nevertheless, let's proceed. Go ahead, Kareem.
Okay, yeah, so really quickly, I think what he's failing to realize, again, he's making things black and white. He has no gray zones. For what I see, knowing the Quran in detail, reading it, and knowing in general the landscape of the hadith tradition in regards to these types of matters, just in general, I see that this ayah is speaking about.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I invisible? Am I invisible? Is it?
Brother Ibn Anwar, Brother Kareem was speaking.
Yeah, really quickly, I want to say it as fast as possible. So what I see is this: that ayah, that verse, is speaking about a specific situation that would occur in the life of the Prophet, and it does not restrict it to every single time he forgot.
You hear what he just said? He said that ayah refers to a specific situation, and it doesn't restrict it to every time Muhammad forgot. You see this? This is what they do. You see how they add and they use their own, they put their own input into the Quran. The verse did not make no exception about restricting to certain situations when he forget, or when he forgets in his bedroom. That's when the verse is relative, or the verse is not relative if he forgets the verse amongst some people in the mosque. So when someone recites the verse that he forgot to him, then that's when the verse Surah 2:106 doesn't apply to him. The verse does not say any of that. It don't make any exception to the rule. But this is what you see Kareem doing, trying to fix the problem. That's all they trying to do. fix the problem. But it's broken.
And ayah, first we have to ask, what does it mean to
And it's still broke.
forget? Does it mean that Allah caused him to have some respite from dwelling upon verses that were heavy upon him? Does it mean, what does it mean? Now, that verse is talking about specific scenarios where abrogation may occur.
No, it's not. And he's not going to find no scholar to agree with what he just said. No tafsir agrees what he just said. He's trying to say, okay, did he forget? Is this verse talking about if Muhammad had a bunch of heavy things on his mind and cause him to forget? It doesn't say any of that. Only thing he's trying to do is make an excuse. That's all he's trying to do. Excuses are the tools of the weak and the incompetent, and those who specialize in them are seldom capable of performing anything else. Let's continue.
Or these different types of scenarios where there's a reason for God causing a verse to be replaced with a better one, and that has more to do with the will of God and His will being applied to the earth about these verses. Now, when it comes to Muhammad forgetting verses just in his day-to-day life, we have to always remember there's gray zones there. Every time he forgot a verse was not about God going to bring him a new verse. Now, no, he was a man, and as he got older, it's not.
You see what he just did? He just threw his Quran in the bus. He just threw his Quran under the bus. He said that it's not saying that every time Muhammad forgets a verse, it don't mean that Allah is going to bring him a better or a similar verse. You hear what he just said? And this is a Muslim. This is why I tell y'all, man, Muslims don't even follow Islam. Islam is a religion that you can do whatever the hell you want to do. That's why Muslim countries, and this is a serious problem around the world, that's why Muslim countries are always in turmoil. Their governments are always shabby. Muslims don't even like living around other Muslims because there was a verse in the Quran where it says that you can kill somebody who causes mischief in the land. So when ISIS goes and kills other Muslims, Muslims will say they're not Muslims, but yes, they are, because ISIS is going by the Quran, okay? They follow the Quran tick for tack. Everything it says. They behead. They do everything that Muhammad did. Not to get off subject, but I'm just saying. So in the Quran, it says that you can kill people if they cause mischief in the land. So basically, a verse like that in itself is vague, okay? Because it doesn't give a definitive explanation of what is mischief. And a group like ISIS can take that verse to mean anything. So what I'm saying is, just like what Kareem is doing right now, he is adding his own flavor into the Quran. He is speaking for Allah, saying that he didn't mean what he said. That it don't mean that every time he forgot, but nowhere does it say that. And no tafsir will agree with that. No scholar has ever wrote or agreed with what Kareem has just said. And this is why Muslim countries are in constant turmoil. This is why they don't trust each other. This is why they move to the West and don't move back to where they came from, because they understand that Islam is just chaotic, just like this panel. It has no order to it, just like this panel discussion.
Actually going to happen that people forget things. So again, there's a gray zone there. Some forgetting was just a natural occurrence for human beings. And
so by him saying there's a gray zone, he is saying that the verse is unclear. But everybody with a logical mind can see that the verse is clear as day. But he is saying that there is a gray zone. He's an idiot, man.
Sometimes God wanted his will to be applied when it came to forgetting a verse, because there was a greater wisdom besides just a human forgetfulness. So
you hear what he just said? He said sometimes. So he just said sometimes Allah would hold to that verse, and sometimes he wouldn't. That's basically what he said. He's not even a Muslim no more. This Kareem guy's not a Muslim. He's not even a Muslim. If he said that in a country like Pakistan or something like that, they liable to kill him for that. He's lucky he's in the United States. See, this is a Western Muslim panel, so they can say anything they want to say. They can even Kenny said on one of his shows when I was on it, he said Muslims say that Allah is not energy. Okay. Kenny said Allah could be energy. I don't know what he is. He could be energy. So they don't even respect their God. So basically, this Kenny Bomer panel, this is the same guy who Christian Prince smashed on YouTube. You can look that video up. Okay. So they don't even respect their God. It's no order to their method. It's just complete chaos, because the Bible even says that God is not the author of confusion.
In conclusion, the hadith is speaking about, something that happened in the time of the Prophet Muhammad. It's a specific event where the ayah is also talking about specific events that are not tied with that hadith.
Right.
He said the ayah is not the ayah. The verse Surah 2106 is talking about specific events that's not tied. That hadith that I read, both the verse Surah 2106 is clear as day. The hadith that I read is clear as day. And he's talking about, where does the ayah say it's not a specific? Oh my gosh, man. Talking about it doesn't talk. Come on, the ayah is self-explanatory. And you heard Kenny talking about some right. The devil agreeing with the devil.
You understand what I'm saying?
I was going to bring up, and just before we go to the brother, Ibn Anwar, just quickly, Devin, you're conflating two different issues and two different events. You're putting them together like it's talking about the same issues, but it's actually not. So, brother Ibn Anwar, go ahead.
He said I'm conflating two issues that's talking about something, but it's not even on the same subject. How am I conflating two different issues when the hadith is speaking about Muhammad forgetting a verse and the verse is talking about Muhammad forgetting a verse? How is that conflating something that's totally different? But we're not going to get frustrated. I'm not going to get frustrated. This video right here is just a teaching lesson to everybody listening, so you'll know how to deal with Muslims. If you ever go on their panels, if you ever decide to go on this panel, just know what to expect. This is just, a forewarning to anybody that may be watching. And this is also exposing Kenny Bomer and his panel. The panel is rigged, as you can see.
Well, this is really quite unfair. I've had to wait for like 10 minutes, and you know that I'm working, right? And I haven't spoken at all. And everybody's been muting me again and again and again. Subhanallah. Am I not a guest here as well?
Carry on, brother.
It's okay.
Carry on, brother Anwar, please. Unmute him. Let him finish. Well,
I think he muted himself.
yeah, you see? Subhanallah.
I didn't mute him.
So again, like Brother Kareem has made it clear, you have to go by what the text is saying. And here is a specific incident which happened, or incident like specific narration where it speaks about the ayat was made to forget, as in from hadith. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded, in fact, when abrogations did happen, we know from other hadith narrations that some sahabi, they were still continuously reciting it, thinking that it's still part of the non-abrogated part of the Quran. And then they were informed, no, this has been abrogated. So there's no problem here. Do you see? When he says now here, you're making up stuff, Kareem. No scholars back up anything that you said. How many scholars have you spoken to? Name me 5 scholars that said something different.
So by him saying that, name me 5 scholars. That's basically him saying, yeah, you're right, Brother Jacob. But because you're right, I'm going to say, name me some scholars that's backing up what you're saying. So basically, it's a thing called reverse psychology. He's basically turning the tables. But see, I'm not the one who has to defend the statement. So you asking me that question is irrelevant. You're the one that have to back up your statements about the Quran with scholarly backing. I mean, they trying to pretend like Islam is not based on scholars. But last time I checked, every hadith that you have, it had to go through a grading system by who? The scholars of Islam. So don't give me that.
Name me 5 scholars. Then I'll see what you're talking about. You said no scholars speak. Name me 5 scholars that said something completely different than what Kareem said. Then
and also stop trying to make scholars the end all with Islam. We don't do that. Maybe you do that, but
he said stop trying to make scholars the end all of Islam. Scholars are the end all of Islam in Saudi Arabia. Scholars are the end all in Al-Azhar University. So what is he talking about? Islam is based on scholars. Scholars determine, like I mentioned, if hadiths are passed or rejected. So what are you talking about? That is the end all of Islam. Uthman, he was a scholar. He was a caliph. He determined to burn up all the other Qurans. He was the end all of it. So what are you talking about? Hypocrites, man. Darkness. Darkness, man. Utter darkness. Let's continue.
We don't make scholars the end all and be all. Scholars say a lot of different things. Scholars disagree and agree. We go with the mainstream. We go with the Quran and the Sunnah, and scholars are there to help, but they make mistakes and they get things right. So stop making the standard the scholar. Who said that?
But this is amazing, though, guys. This is first.
By the way, this is the same Kareem who threw Jalalain under the bus when I read a tafsir to prove a point I was making in the last debate. This is the same Kareem who threw Jalalain under the bus. I'm telling you, people, these are not Muslims on this panel. These are not Muslims.
Time I heard this, I've heard of this hadith long time ago. I'm sure you brothers heard it as well. But I find it amazing when he said that when the Quran says that we hold on, what does it say? We never nullify a verse nor cause it to be forgotten unless we bring one better than it or similar to it. Do you know that God is capable of all things? Again, this is speaking about abrogation. Whereas he's saying that
it's not speaking about just abrogation. It said we do not abrogate or cause a verse to be forgotten. When you use the word or, and, but, nor, for, and, but, nor, or, those are conjunctions. So when it says we do not abrogate or, that's bringing in another subject matter. I learned that in school. I'm not an English major, but I know a little bit. So it's bringing in another subject matter. The or is like glue, okay? It's gluing together two different thought processes, bringing it into the same sentence so you won't have a run-on incomplete sentence, okay? So it says, we do not abrogate or cause to be forgotten unless we replace with something better or similar. Mustafa the blasphemer. You are a liar. And that's why I'm exposing you. You are a liar.
Subhanallah, Rasulullah forgot a verse and the companion informed him, so that companion must be a prophet, so he gave him a new revelation. How did he come to that conclusion?
You see, he's trying to mock what I'm saying. How did he come to that conclusion? How did I come to that conclusion? How did I come to that conclusion? You know how I came to that conclusion? Because of what your Quran says. Mustafa, that's how I came to that conclusion. I came to that conclusion because your Quran says that Muhammad would be given something similar or better. So if the man who reminded him brought him a new verse that was never heard before to Muhammad, that means that man is acting like a new messenger to Islam. He's bringing a new message, okay? But the man didn't bring, according to the hadith, he didn't bring a new verse because it says he reminded Muhammad of a verse. But I'm saying the dilemma is because it says he reminded, which means he didn't bring something better or similar, like Surah 2106 promised. It means that Allah is a liar because Surah 2106 wasn't fulfilled. And The man is the one who reminded Muhammad and not Allah. And it just brings up another problem. Like, if Muhammad is a prophet, forgetting verses, can you imagine Jesus forgetting the Sermon on the Mount and his disciples having to remind him of something he said? It just shows how irresponsible Muhammad was. Okay? That he had to be reminded. Why he didn't write it down himself? You see, they say he couldn't read or write. He should have had the book with him at all times so he wouldn't be forgetting. You know what I'm saying? It just shows his irresponsibility. You see, if it was the other way around, and if it was in the Christian scriptures that Jesus was forgetting things and his disciples had to remind him, these Muslims defending Muhammad and his forgetfulness, they would be making arguments against Christians right now saying, how can you worship? How is this God? And he's forgetting how his prayers go. Ah, ha, 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 ha. That's a man. God can't forget. How can this be God? That's exactly what they would be saying. That's exactly what they would be saying. So this, what I pointed out, is so damaging to Islam and their prophet.
How you pull that fight?
Unbelievable.
Or should I say, is damaging to the image of their prophet. It shows that he is not a prophet, and it shows that their God does not carry forth his words. So how can that be the word of God? Busted.
See how that? I mean, like, I really don't. It's like his imagination is so like huge. Like, it's just.
Yeah, you're right. My imagination is huge, and my insight to see bullshit is huge. You are right, Mustafa. You are absolutely right. That's the only true thing he said the entire night.
Gone beyond like fantasy now.
Right.
He just came out
with the other thing, Brother Mustafa. Before he goes in, we look at Islam as it from a whole, because we read the stories and we get a vision of a human, where he just likes to make things black and white. He takes the worst case scenario and applies that without thinking that, first of all, the prophet is gonna forget things if he's a human being. So just.
First of all, the prophet is going to forget things if he's a human being. We're not talking about things, just any random thing. We are speaking about the verse that Allah said he causes Muhammad to forget. You see, they're trying to sidestep the main point. And that's why they kept muting me, because they couldn't deal with the pressure. But that's okay. We got the footage, and this is going up on my channel so the world can see, so everybody can see that these are nothing but taqiyya, deception, deceivers.
That in itself is going to say that some scenarios are going to be him forgetting things just on a human level. Did that mean that every single time he forgot something, it's God causing him to forget it in order to bring a new? No, it's sometimes he just forgot things because he was a human. But then
you see what he just did? He's trying to twist the verse into meaning that the verse was speaking about Muhammad forgetting things other than the verse. Now, that's what you call conflating. When Kenny used the word conflating, he was just trying to use a big word, but he wasn't making sense. Conflating is when you take two issues that are totally polar opposite of each other and try to make it seem like it's one point on the same thing. No. So what he is doing is conflating, trying to say Muhammad forgetting other things like where did I lay my pencil on the desk? That's not what the verse was speaking about, verses that he forgot. The verse is clear as day.
There were certain scenarios, the verse is speaking about those, that God is actually more so visible in his intervention of him forgetting something for a greater purpose. But sometimes he's just forgetting because he's a human. He can't remember every single verse in the Quran at every single moment of the day. No human can do that. The verses come to us as we go throughout life, and certain verses jump out at us in different times.
Brother Kareem, I just want to add to it that I'll go back again to Matthew 16:15 to 17, where it says, he said to them, but who do you say that I am?
We're just going to end it right there because it's basically the same old stuff throughout the majority of the telecast. So we're just going to end it right there. because there's no need to keep, playing the same old redundancy. The same thing kept happening, even going towards the end of the show. And then I missed the part that Kenny had brought out, and they was like, oh, because I had skipped over that part by mistake. Kenny was like, the verse is not forgotten because the man reminded Muhammad, and they was like, oh yeah, that's right, Kenny. Yeah, that's good point. But that's not what the verse is saying, because the verse, number one, was given to who? The promise was given to who? The verse was given to Muhammad. Muhammad was told that if he forgot a verse, that Allah would bring it back to his memory. Okay? It didn't say that a man in a mosque would bring it back to his memory. It said that Allah would bring it back to his memory. And when you read, thank you, Spirit. I got to show y'all the tafsir. Let's go to the tafsir. Let's go to altafsir.com. Surah 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 106. Let's go to the cousin of Muhammad, Ibn Abbas. Let's see what he had to say. Verse 2, 106. Let's go to Ibn Abbas. And this is the tafsir. Basically, the tafsir is the interpretation of the Quranic verses. Okay, and this is tafsir Ibn Abbas for Surah 2, 106. And this is what he says. Basically, he's giving his breakdown. Then Allah mentions what was abrogated of the Quran and that which was not abrogated as a direct reference to the claim of the Quraysh who said to the Prophet, O Muhammad, why do you command us to do something and then forbid it, saying, such of our revelations as we abrogate, we do not erase a verse that was acted upon before and which is now not acted upon or caused to be forgotten, or leave unabrogated so that it is acted upon. We bring one better. We send Gabriel with that which more profitable and easier to act upon, or the like in reward, benefit, and action. Knowest thou not, O Muhammad, that Allah is able to do all things of the abrogated and unabrogated? So remember, when the liar Mustafa was saying that Allah sent the man who reminded Muhammad as the messenger. And what did the tafsir just say? It said, we send Gabriel. That's what Ibn Abbas says. They can't deny Ibn Abbas. He said, we send Gabriel. Okay? Not the man that was in the mosque. Okay? So that verse applies to Muhammad. Okay, it's speaking about if Muhammad forgot a verse, that Allah would send the verse back to him through the angel Gabriel. Okay, so they try to make an excuse to say that they try to make an excuse and said that because the man reminded Muhammad of the verse, that the verse wasn't forgotten. No, that doesn't work, because the verse was not given to the man who reminded Muhammad. The verse was given to Muhammad. So as the tafsir says, if Muhammad forgot the verse, guess what? Gabriel will send him the new verse, or the better or similar verse. It says Gabriel would send it. Okay? So they was trying to say during the show, it had came up where they had said that the verse wasn't forgotten because somebody reminded Muhammad, but the promise was not given to the man who reminded Muhammad. It was given, Surah 2, 106, it was given to Muhammad. And when he forgot a verse, Allah told him that it would be replaced with something similar or better. And as you see, that is not the case, and that's not what happened, okay? Because let's just say, for an example, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, okay? Let's just say if Muhammad forgot the verse, and let's just say the man was not in the mosque to remind him. Then what? What happens then? You see? So the verse would have to stand, the promise that Allah gave Muhammad would have to stand in order for the verse to be from God, because God promises must come to pass. That's how you can prove whether or not the word is from God or if it's from Satan, because God words come to pass. You get what I'm saying? So let's just say all of the Muslims in the world forgot a particular verse, right? Because that has happened before, okay? The verse on breastfeeding and stoning, no Muslim has that verse today. The verse that Aisha says was left under the pillow and the tame sheep came and ate it, we can say that proves that Surah 2106 is a lie. Because where do we see that verse replaced with a similar or better verse? We don't see that. Okay? So they can't say that where is a Muslim in the world today that knows that verse on stoning and breastfeeding? They don't know it. They don't recite that verse. It's not in the Quran no more. Okay? So just proving a point that the verse and the promise was given to Muhammad. Okay? It's not saying that if somebody else remembered the verse, then that means the verse hasn't been forgotten. No, because that person who remembers it, who reminded Muhammad, he is not the prophet. The prophet is the one who is the messenger of Islam. The prophet is the one who is basically the walking Quran. That's how you have to view Muhammad. Muhammad was like a walking Quran. Whatever he said goes. Because in the Quran it says that you have to obey the prophet just like you obey Allah himself. So Muhammad was the walking Quran. So that's why when they tried to say that because a man remembered a verse, that means the verse wasn't forgotten. No. Because the verse, like I said, was given to Muhammad. He is the dispenser of the Quran to the rest of the Muslims. Okay? So we're going to end it right there. We just proving that Kenny, Bomer, and them, they just a bunch of liars, deceivers. They were practicing taqiyya. As you see, all of their points were busted. Mustafa, he lied on his God. He said that Allah sent the man in the mosque as the messenger. You heard him say it. He can't deny that he didn't say it. We heard Kenny dismissing the verse, saying it didn't mean what it said it meant, putting things into it that wasn't in the verse, making exceptions for the verse that wasn't in the verse. So just take this as a learning lesson like I did. We can build upon this. Tell me what you think in the comments section below this video. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to go back and forth with you. And hit the likes button, hit the subscribe button, share the videos, post it on your social media. I want to see this channel grow because the information we put out on this channel, by the grace of God, is irrefutable. They cannot deal with this. They cannot handle this. And with that, this is Brother Jacob, the False Prophet channel, where we get Islam exposed and the Prophet of Islam exposed on a regular basis. And with that, I would like to say, God bless, and we out.